Hi everyone, my name is McKaylee Anderson, and the artist I chose to focus on is Vincent Van Gogh. Vincent Willem van Gogh was born March 30th, 1853, to an upper-middle-class family in the Brabant village of Zundert, Netherlands. It is said that Van Gogh was the second child of Theodorus and Anna Van Gogh, and that he had an older brother that was stillborn exactly 1 year before Van Gogh was born. The brother was also named Vincent. Van Gogh's father was a country minister, while his mother Anna was a moody artist. Van Gogh was the eldest of 6 children. He had 3 sisters, Anna, Elizabeth, and Wilhelmine, and 2 brothers, Theo and Cor. His brother Theo would later become a huge influence and support on Van Gogh's life. Van Gogh attended schooling, although it is known that he disliked it terribly. There are reports that he was very successful. However, at the age of 15, Van Gogh quit his schooling and never went back. Some sources say it was due to financial difficulties within his family, but others say there was never a definite reason. Vincent began working for his uncle, Uncle Cent, short for Vincent as well, as an art dealer trainee. He adored the job and was very successful at it, and was eventually transferred to their location in London, where Van Gogh fell in love with English culture, especially the work of Charles Dickens and George Eliot. While he was in London, he also fell in love with a woman who ultimately declined his proposal. This led to a massive heartbreak for Van Gogh, and this is kind of the start of Van Gogh's mental illness difficulties that he faced throughout his life. Because of this decline of his proposal, he resorted to throwing away any and all works of arts, so paintings, books, whatever he had, and plunged himself into a religious fervor. During this time, he was telling his customers at work not to purchase any of the worthless art, and was very obviously quickly fired. Van Gogh began working at an all-boys boarding school while preaching there in the hopes of becoming a minister. He preached in neighboring villages and towns. He also began a rigorous schooling, studying theology at the School of Theology in Amsterdam. But when it came to studying Latin, Van Gogh refused, saying it was a dead language, only used by the poor. He was kicked out of the program. Van Gogh was also volunteering and ministering at a coal mine in the south of Belgium at this time. He would preach to the sick and draw the miners and their families, but the school he was teaching at didn't approve of this lifestyle and did not renew his contract. Being jobless, Van Gogh made the decision to pursue being an artist, as his brother Theo was now a manager of the art dealership. His brother financially supported him throughout this journey of being an artist. Van Gogh's parents were unhappy with this decision to pursue being an artist, but supported him through it. They even brought Van Gogh into their home again, allowing him to live with them for a time. During this time, Van Gogh trained under Anton Mauve, who taught him techniques, while Van Gogh gained the opportunity to practice and broadcast his artwork. Van Gogh also started a relationship with a woman, a former prostitute, that had a child and was currently pregnant. After cutting ties with her, Van Gogh moved in with his parents and began painting and sketching farmers, weavers, and workers, which led to Van Gogh's famous The Potato Eaters. This was created in 1885 with oil on canvas. Vincent van Gogh decided to move to Paris to live with his brother Theo, and this is a picture of Theo on the right side of the page. In Paris, Van Gogh studied and learned with other inspiring artists, posing as models for each other because oftentimes it was too expensive to find other models. During this time, Van Gogh developed a distinct technique for himself. His colors got brighter. The theme of his paintings changed from rural landscapes to brighter cafes and cityscapes, and he began experimenting with portraits, mainly of himself, again because getting models was insanely expensive. And he began demonstrating bold outlining, cropping, and color contrasting, which he was inspired by Japanese artists. Vincent van Gogh grew tired of the busy streets of Paris and decided to move to Arles, where the well-known Yellow House stands today. Van Gogh created some of his most famous artwork here. And this is one of his paintings of Arles, the town. And here's another of the sunflowers painting that he created while he was there in 1888, oil on canvas. And Bedroom in Arles, October 1888. And as you can see in these paintings, they are much brighter than the Potato Eaters painting that he had done. So Vincent, at the Yellow House, Van Gogh rented 4 rooms. Paul Gauguin was an artist that moved in with him. The two collaborated on some exceptional paintings we know today, and those will be displayed on the next page. Due to Van Gogh and Gauguin's differing techniques, Gauguin often liked to paint from memory, and Van Gogh painted what was right in front of him. Tensions rose between them. Van Gogh was visibly displaying those signs of tensions, and Gauguin decided to leave. This brought Van Gogh over the edge, and he sliced off his own ear. He wrapped it in newspaper and left it for a prostitute in the red light district. And that just shows how unstable he was at this time. Vincent Van Gogh was admitted to the hospital the next morning, and here's a direct quote from his brother Theo, and it reads, "I found Vincent in the hospital in Arles. The people around him realized from his agitation that for the past few days he had been showing symptoms of that most dreadful illness, of madness, in an attack of fièvre chaude. When he ignored himself, or when he injured himself with a knife, was the reason he was taken to the hospital. Will he remain insane? The doctors think it is possible, but daren't yet say for certain." End of quote. Following Van Gogh's discharge, he had no recollection of cutting his own ear off, and he continued to paint. He later admitted himself to the psychiatric hospital and spent an entire year there. And here are paintings of Vincent van Gogh and Gauguin's collaboration. I think the one on the right is very interesting because it is Van Gogh painting his famous sunflower piece of work. So I thought that was very cool. So Van Gogh self-admitted himself to the psychiatric hospital for 1 year, and during that year, Van Gogh's health improved drastically. He was allowed to paint inside and outside, and the staff ended up giving Van Gogh an entire room to utilize as his own studio. And on the right is one of his paintings titled "Window in the Studio" that he created in 1889. During his stay, he did have a few moments of relapse. Once he ate some of his oil paint, which put a standstill on his creating for a little while. They did not trust him with his paints. And also, during Van Gogh's time in the hospital, he created nearly 150 paintings. Like this, his Starry Night, which was created in June of 1889. It's one of my favorite paintings of his. And his Almond Blossom painting in 1890, which he created for his brother Theo and Theo's growing family. After Van Gogh was discharged from the hospital, he moved into a commune in France, which gave him the much-needed peace and quiet and assistance from doctors that he needed. He quickly became friends with one of the doctors, Dr. Yek. Dr. Yek kept an eye on Van Gogh and encouraged him to devote everything into his artwork, which Van Gogh did, essentially creating a painting a day, which he is known for. And on the right is his portrait of Dr. Yek, which was created in 1890. Devoting everything to his art ultimately did not help Van Gogh's mental illnesses, and he eventually was consumed by financial worries as his brother Theo, whom had been financially supporting him throughout the years, decided to quit his management job at the art dealers he had worked at for so long. These worries and Van Gogh's struggles with mental illnesses were all too much for him, and unfortunately, on July 27, 1890, he walked into a wheat field and died by suicide from a gunshot to his chest. Van Gogh was 37 years old when he committed suicide. Vincent van Gogh is one of the most famous and influential figures in Western art history today. There's an art museum dedicated to him in Amsterdam. There's a picture of that on the right, which is known as the Van Gogh Museum, and his artwork is displayed in museums throughout the entire world, and there are exhibits of his work everywhere, like the immersive exhibit in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which I plan on attending in the next few months. And here are a few more pieces of Van Gogh's artwork that I did not talk about earlier that I found extremely beautiful and moving. There is the self-portrait that he created in 1889, the irises in 1889 as well, the cafe terrace at night in 1888, and the olive trees in 1889. And you can tell in all of these paintings, his artwork is very bright. He uses a lot of expression in his line work, and some of his lining is very bold, which he grew in inspiration from Japanese artists. A few more that I found very moving and beautiful. The view of Arles, which was the town that he spent a lot of time in, and I love that he added in the yellow house right here that he spent all of his time at. So it's view of Arles flowering orchard, in 1889, the Red Vineyard in 1888, and he also did a self-portrait with his bandaged ear in 1889. And that is my presentation on Vincent van Gogh. Thank you for watching. I learned so much about Van Gogh's artwork, and I have a new appreciation for the work that he has created, and I already have one of his prints in my house that's displayed. Here are my references. Thank you for watching.